every single one of those guys died rather than deny their belief.
They said the signs would be subtle. But what if they're made of stone and standing in plain sight? The earth is groaning. The ground is shifting. And ancient words written in scrolls millennia ago are now colliding with metal, concrete, and dust. This is not coincidence. This is convergence. From Israel's deserts to Europe's cathedrals, from America's buried stones to hidden chambers beneath the earth, structures are crying out. They are not ruins, they are revelations. And at the heart of this global tremor stands one of the most controversial, closely guarded, and spiritually loaded locations in human history: Mount Moriah, the Temple Mount, the very hill where Abraham raised his knife and where Solomon built the house of the Lord. Today, it is wrapped in tension, watched by drones, and haunted by prophecy. But something has shifted. For the first time in 2,000 years, preparations for a new temple have accelerated. The Temple Institute in Jerusalem now has blueprints. Priestly garments have been woven, sacred vessels recreated, and 5 unblemished red heifers, born in Texas and flown to Israel, now graze near the ancient city. According to Numbers 19, the ashes of a perfect red heifer are required to purify the temple, and without them, no third temple can be built. The rabbis are not speaking in riddles anymore. They're speaking in timelines. Is this the final piece of the puzzle before prophecy unfolds before our eyes? Because if this stone is laid, the world will not remain the same. But what if the ground beneath Mount Moriah is hiding something else? The chamber beneath the dome. They sealed it with steel. They covered it with stone. But some gates were never meant to stay shut. Beneath the dome of the rock lies a hollow, ancient, forbidden, and wrapped in mystery. It's called the Well of Souls. Some believe it's just a cave. Others say it's the very spot where the Ark of the Covenant once rested, where God's presence touched the earth. In 2023, reports began to surface. Small tremors beneath the Temple Mount, thermal readings indicating hollow space, secret excavations rumored at night. Whispers grew louder that under the foundation, ancient structures are being uncovered. Tunnels, chambers, inscriptions. Some claim it's just routine preservation, but others say it's prophecy knocking from beneath the rock. Ezekiel saw a future temple in a vision, Ezekiel 40 to 43. He described gates, measurements, courtyards, blueprints for a holy place yet to rise. What if those gates have already been carved? What if those chambers were never symbolic, but structural? An Israeli archaeologist, working under anonymity, stated that seismic scans confirmed unusual voids beneath the platform. These aren't cracks. These are rooms that have not been entered in thousands of years. In the book of Revelation, John saw a temple in heaven, and thunder shook as it opened. What if heaven's echo is being felt again, this time through stone? And here's the most chilling part. The dome itself bears inscriptions, Arabic verses warning that God has no son. Yet beneath it lies the original foundation stone of the Holy of Holies. 2 faiths, 1 mountain, 1 prophecy, and time is running out. But what about the other structure? The one the Vatican doesn't want to talk about, the hidden staircase of Mount Zion. They found stairs, but no one knew where they led, until someone followed them. Mount Zion. The name alone stirs something sacred in the soul. It's more than a hill. It's a threshold, the place where heaven kissed earth, and prophecy still echoes. In late 2024, Workers restoring ancient walls near the Church of the Dormition uncovered something extraordinary, a sealed passage carved into bedrock, hidden behind centuries of stone. It wasn't on any modern map. It didn't match Roman layouts or Crusader archives. It was older, much older. And the steps? They descended, spiraling, smooth with time, worn by feet long forgotten. Biblical scholars rushed in. Not just archaeologists. These were prophecy watchers. Because in Psalm 132, God says, "This is my resting place forever. Here I will dwell, for I have desired it." Many believe Mount Zion holds the tombs of kings. But what if it's more than that? A Jerusalem-based research team claimed the tunnel may link directly beneath the Temple Mount, a physical bridge from the house of David to the foundation of God's throne, David's city to God's holy mountain. One researcher called it the artery of prophecy. But here's where things grow even stranger. Inside the staircase, they found ancient Hebrew etchings, not modern, not even Second Temple period. These predate Herod. Some say predate Solomon. One of them, partially translated, reads, "Prepare the place." He comes. Who wrote it? Who was coming? And why now? Why 2024? Does the earth begin to reveal what it has hidden for millennia? What if this isn't an isolated find, but part of something much bigger? What if the seven structures are beginning to wake? The rebuilt gate beneath Damascus. Beneath the noise of modern Damascus, a forgotten gate just opened. And what's behind it could rewrite prophecy. In the heart of Syria, war and rubble veil ancient wonders. Yet even in ruin, revelation rises. In late May 2025, satellite scans revealed a shift, literally, in the foundations of old Damascus. A collapsed road near the Bab Shaki quarter revealed the corner of a long-buried archway. Local archaeologists knew the street, but the gate, it wasn't marked on any modern blueprint. Not Roman, not Ottoman, not Byzantine, but Ezekiel knew it. In Ezekiel 47, he speaks of water flowing from the threshold of the temple, reaching the east gate, and even the desert toward Damascus. Now, that ancient gate, sealed for centuries, was no longer sealed. Beneath layers of soot and sand, they found carved symbols on the stone: a lion, a branch, and a river. 3 images, all prophetic. The lion, Judah; the branch, Messiah; the river, living water. But this wasn't Israel. This was Damascus. The city Isaiah 17:1 said would cease to be a city and become a heap of ruins. And here it is, ruins. Yet beneath the destruction, a gate waiting. Not Roman, not Islamic, but Hebrew, covered by centuries of silence. Then something else, etched in faded Aramaic. He will pass through again. The scholars argue over the phrase, is it poetic, prophetic, literal? But one thing is certain, this isn't just architecture, it's announcement. A gate hidden under judgment, unsealed as the world teeters. And some say, this isn't the only one. Could other gates be waking? Is the ground itself preparing for a return foretold? Mount Ebal's tablet, the cursed stone that speaks on a windswept slope in northern Samaria. A tiny lead tablet was pulled from the ash, and what it said froze archaeologists in place. Mount Ebal, biblically known as the Mountain of Curses, has long loomed opposite Mount Gerizim, the Mountain of Blessings. When Israel entered the Promised Land, Moses commanded the tribes, proclaim blessings from Gerizim and curses from Ebal. Most never expected we'd hear from that mountain again. But in 2022, Israeli archaeologists sifting through debris from a 1980s excavation found something overlooked, a folded lead tablet no larger than a postage stamp. They scanned it, and through layers of corrosion, a message appeared in the world's oldest Proto-Hebrew script. And the message, cursed, cursed, cursed by the god YHW. You will die cursed. No name, no event, just divine judgment, engraved in metal like an echo of Sinai. How did a Hebrew curse tablet, older than any ever found, end up buried in Mount Ebal's sacrificial altar? Scholars date it to the late Bronze Age, around the time of Joshua. Joshua 8:30 describes him building an altar there, just as Moses instructed. Until now, it was considered religious poetry. But this changes everything. A physical altar, a real tablet, a national covenant etched in warning. And the script? It predates the Dead Sea Scrolls by nearly 1,000 years. It means not only that ancient Israelites could write, but they were invoking the name of God, YHW, long before skeptics believed the Bible was compiled. This one small object, unearthed from ash, now whispers through time. It's not just history, it's accountability. And many believe this discovery wasn't random, because prophecy warns that as the end nears, the curses of disobedience will rise again. If Mount Ebal is speaking, what else is buried, waiting to remind us of promises broken and justice delayed? Sodom's ashes, the city that still burns. The ground around the Dead Sea doesn't lie, it screams. The cities once known as Sodom and Gomorrah didn't simply fall into ruin, they were incinerated. In Genesis 19, God rains fire and brimstone on Sodom, a city drowned in sin, pride, and unrepentant rebellion. For centuries, skeptics dismissed it as myth, a moral allegory, nothing more. But then came the excavation at Tall El Hammam, located in modern-day Jordan, near the northern edge of the Dead Sea. Charred stone, melted clay, instant vitrification, like glass exposed to a nuclear blast. Scientists found high levels of sulfur embedded in the soil, the kind only formed at extreme temperatures, well beyond natural fire. And at the center of the site, human bones, shattered, scattered, burned. The entire region bears evidence of a cosmic explosion from above. Researchers from Trinity Southwest University suggest it was a thermal airburst, a fiery atmospheric detonation over 1,000 times more intense than Hiroshima. The timing? Estimated to be around 1650 BCE, eerily aligned with Abraham's era. And here's the part that stuns both scientists and believers. Inside one of the dig layers, archaeologists found a piece of pottery, glazed on one side. Its surface melted in an instant. Something only possible in temperatures over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, exactly as the Bible described. The Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah, from the Lord out of the heavens. Genesis 19:24. This wasn't metaphor, it was judgment. And as Jesus warned in Luke 17, as it was in the days of Lot, so will it be when the Son of Man is revealed. The parallels are undeniable. Society drifting into moral collapse, fire from the heavens as a final warning. And yet, what if this wasn't just a punishment of the past, but a prophecy of the future? If Sodom has been found, what comes next, and where will the fire fall this time? The sealed gate, Jerusalem's silent prophecy. There is a gate in Jerusalem no one enters, and for nearly 500 years, no one has dared to open it. They call it the Eastern Gate, the Golden Gate. Facing the Mount of Olives, it is the only gate in Jerusalem's ancient walls that remains sealed, stone on stone, untouched since 1541. But its silence is deafening. because this is the very gate the prophets spoke of. Ezekiel saw it first. In chapter 44, he records the Lord commanding, "This gate shall remain shut. It shall not be opened, and no one shall enter by it, for the Lord, the God of Israel, has entered by it." That's the prophecy, that this gate is reserved for one person, the King of Glory. And here's where the mystery deepens. When the Ottoman Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent rebuilt Jerusalem's walls, he sealed the Eastern Gate himself. History says it was to stop the Messiah, because Muslim tradition also feared a coming deliverer. To make it more unapproachable, they even built a cemetery right in front of it, a defilement tactic, because a Jewish priest would never walk through a graveyard. But the king they're trying to stop isn't just a priest. He's the resurrection and the life. And now, in the 21st century, strange things are happening. Satellite images show subtle shifts in the earth around the gate. Engineers have reported internal pressure building within the sealed stones. Eyewitnesses have captured flickers of unexplained light emanating from cracks no wider than a finger. It's as if something beneath is stirring. And according to Zechariah 14:4, when the Messiah returns, he will set his feet on the Mount of Olives, and the mountain will split in two. A path will open, and that path leads straight to the Eastern Gate. So we must ask, is the gate waiting or waking? And if the stones tremble before his return, what happens when he walks through? The mount that burned, fire from the sky. In the barren land of Saudi Arabia, there stands a mountain blackened at its peak, charred, as if heaven once descended in flame. To the Bedouins, it's called Jabal al-Lawz. To a growing number of biblical scholars, it is something far more terrifying, Mount Sinai. Yes, that Mount Sinai, the one where Moses stood trembling, where the ground quaked, where the voice of God thundered like 1,000 storms. And now, thousands of years later, the evidence is still there. The peak of the mountain is scorched, black rock that flakes and glitters as if it had been burned from above, not below. Not volcanic, not natural, not explained. When archaeologists tested samples from the summit, they discovered something eerie. The outer layer was fused and superheated, while the interior remained untouched, almost as if fire fell from the sky and kissed only the surface. And then there's the altar stones at the base, marked with ancient petroglyphs of calves, eerily echoing the golden calf story from Exodus 32. Nearby, a split rock rising over 60 feet tall, with signs of water erosion between its cleft, in the middle of the desert, as if at one time a river burst forth from solid granite. So why does no one talk about this? Because the traditional Mount Sinai is in Egypt, nestled safely in tourist trails and church maps. But the Bible says otherwise. Galatians 4:25 puts Mount Sinai in Arabia, and suddenly all the pieces realign. If this is the real Sinai, then God's footprints still burn on this mountain. And the fire that once fell from heaven never truly left. Could this be the reason access to Jabal al-Lawz is still tightly restricted by the Saudi government? What are they guarding? What force still stirs beneath those scorched stones? And what would happen if God calls humanity back to that mountain once more? The cities God burn, Sodom, Gomorrah, and the Ashen Clues. There's a stretch of land south of the Dead Sea where the earth looks wrong. Ash-colored hills crumble when touched. Strange formations rise, brittle, skeletal, and scattered everywhere, embedded in the brittle dust, are black stones that burn with sulfur when lit. It's a place many avoid, but some believe this is all that's left of Sodom and Gomorrah, the cities God himself destroyed in Genesis 19. Mainstream scholars once dismissed the idea. They called it myth, allegory, a tale to teach morality. But then came the sulfur balls. Embedded in these formations are millions of round sulfur nodules, some over 90% pure, unlike anything found elsewhere on Earth. Not volcanic residue, not industrial waste. They are uniquely formed under supernatural heat. When lit, they burn blue and hot enough to melt rock. And these structures, they're not random. Some look like walls with 90-degree angles. Others resemble columns, rooftops, even chambers, all reduced to ash, yet frozen in shape. How does ash maintain architecture? How does sulfur embed itself in ancient ruins? Unless it really happened. Unless the Bible wasn't exaggerating when it said, "Then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens." Genesis 19:24. These aren't just ruins, they are warnings. Every melted stone, every scorched pillar, every sulfur globe unearthed by tourists and researchers cries out the same message: judgment is real. And the fire that once fell from heaven might not be a story for the past. The earth remembers what man forgets, and beneath the dust of the Jordan Rift lies a whisper, as it was in the days of Lot. The final clock, the third temple, and the threshold of the end. They say the clock started ticking again when Jerusalem was restored, but it might strike midnight when the third temple rises. This isn't theory anymore. It's unfolding. At the heart of Israel, the Temple Institute has already recreated every sacred vessel: the menorah, the incense altar, the priestly garments, even the golden crown, bearing the name of the Lord. Red heifers, unblemished and rare, have been flown from Texas. They graze near Jerusalem now, watched, measured, preserved. Because when one reaches the right age, it will be sacrificed. Its ashes will cleanse the altar, and the building will begin. But what altar? Where? That's the tremor. Some say it will be built on the Temple Mount, beside the dome of the rock. Others whisper of a hidden site, waiting for divine instruction. But regardless of where, it is coming. The Jewish Sanhedrin has been revived. Priests are training. Blueprints exist, and one cornerstone, massive and sacred, has already been carved. This isn't just construction, it's prophecy incarnate. In 2 Thessalonians 2:4, Paul describes a man of lawlessness who will sit in the temple of God, proclaiming himself to be God. And Daniel foresaw a time when sacrifice would stop, because something unholy would invade the holy. For those watching, the third temple isn't a symbol of peace. It's a trigger, a countdown, a divine fuse lit by ancient fire. And with every stone that moves, with every altar vessel cast in gold, with every red heifer reaching maturity, heaven is watching, hell is stirring, and prophecy, line by line, is stepping into daylight. So now we ask, if the temple is almost here, how close is the one who comes after it? Because the veil is lifting, the seals are cracking, and the silence in heaven is almost over.